Mr. Sasalu, when we talk about sustainable growth, obviously the demand for growth in our country, whether it's urban growth, growth in rural centers, all of that is critical, but we have to keep an eye out on the environment. We have to ensure that our growth is not just equitable, but it is also environment friendly. Greenhouse emissions is a huge concern. Going forward, how does inclusive growth need to include a concern for the environment?
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here and sharing my thoughts on this subject and with eminent panelists here. With regards to your question regarding the sustainable growth and equitable growth, what we have, if I may use the word messed up, what we have messed up in the last 100 years cannot be reversed in 5 years or 6 years, because the economies in the world cannot sustain such kind of investment. More equitable is when we are able to educate people, and when the larger organizations which are there are going to be moving towards the sustainable initiatives, and also taking the entire population along with that and making sure they understand their role in this massive transformation that the world needs, is probably the way the world should be going ahead.
It is often a cliche that when one looks at infrastructure, one looks at buildings and ports and airports and highways, etc. But, Rumjum, when we had a conversation, a chat before we started this program, you pointed out the need to speak about social infrastructure, because it's not just enough to have structures. It's important to focus on education, healthcare, water. Could you tell us about how this needs to be a key part of 2047?
Vishnu, I think we've made significant progress in terms of core infrastructure sectors in the last few years, and we're very proud of that. And that has come about because of large investments that have gone in. Private sector has been involved. That has led to quality infrastructure at scale and, of course, world-class infrastructure. However, India is such a diverse and large country. There is a lot of effort that we now need to put into looking at how we can galvanize the social sectors as well, the social infra sectors, with those kind of initiatives that we have actually been successful for core. So there are opportunities in the social sectors where we believe that we need to focus attention, so that the developing country has got challenges that need to be addressed. I agree that today what we are seeing is that those local challenges are being addressed by local solutions as well. When we look at scaling up and sustaining that, then I think there are much more efforts that will be required.
Yeah. Mr. Sahai, at one level what we are talking about are concepts and ideas and things which fulfill a certain need. But Larsen & Toubro has done a great deal of work when it comes to actually realizing inclusive infrastructure growth, sustainable infrastructure growth. Could you give us a few examples of how that has been the case?
So there is something I would like to talk about, which is what we do in the rural areas, in the farming community, which is we have taken up 9 sites across the country, and these are sort of water-stressed areas which have been deprived of water for long periods of time. Not completely arid, they do get rainfall, but very sparse. So we have identified these rural areas, each of them around, say, 3,500 to 4,000 hectares. And we have worked with the local communities over there. The first task is to see how we can improve the water resources and availability in these regions. And a number of measures are taken out with the involvement of the local people, the farmers over there, setting up councils and communities amongst them, so that they can carry on the work after we have left. So things like farm bunding, trench cutting at higher levels in the watershed areas, which has an effect 2 to 3 kilometers downstream of that place in terms of raising the water level in the wells and the ponds. And activities like that which have helped raise the water level or the water table in the wells and in the ponds which the farmers access for their livelihood, for farming and cultivation. And they have seen the difference these things have made. And after we leave also, so they carry on the work. They understand the meaning now of what it means to maintain those trench cuts at elevated levels. and to repair it as and when required. So how to do this at scale can be a challenge, which is something that can be taken up. We are not the only corporates, I must say. There are other corporates also doing similar kinds of things. But certainly there is an opportunity and there is a need to scale it up at a much bigger level across the country.
Mr. Gupta, earlier we'd focused on the Asia-Pacific region in terms of ports, the Indian Ocean region. Let's talk about India itself, because the India story as far as ports is concerned is so critical for our economic growth. I was reading some numbers, and this is what the Minister of Shipping and Ports said. Our present capacity in millions of tons per annum is 2,600 MTPA. By 2047, the goal I think is 10,000 million tons per annum. So two questions over here. What is the climate strategy as India expands port capacity? And secondly, what are the economic implications of reaching that 10,000 MPTA mark?
I would say India growth story in a sustainable planet. We do believe in this 10,000 million metric ton per annum capacity as announced by Honorable Minister. Why? If you look at India GDP, we talk about 6 to 7%. Maybe it may go higher. But when we look at the trade growth, it could be much higher than the GDP. And if we do my mathematics, it comes to be 9 to 10% to reach that 10,000 million metric ton by 2047. So if we focus on GDP growth, if we focus on trade growth, that is going to happen, which is 10,000 million metric ton. And in line with that, we ourselves also preparing the capacities. For example, in next 5 years, we will double our sales to 1 billion. Now, what is also very important that we do the growth in a sustainable way. Sustainable way means what? And I think I fully appreciate what you said. Sometimes we overuse the sustainability word. In my language, sustainability is something that you should hand over this planet to your grandchildren as your grandfather did to your father. That's what is the definition of sustainability, despite of exponential growth, despite of capacity creation and so on. So what is most important in this sector is the end-to-end renewable energy. And as I'm speaking, 13% of our ports are driven by the renewable energy. And we are putting up the world's largest renewable energy park, 30 gigawatt in Kavra. Now, the second thing which comes is again about planet, is about how green our planet is. Again, we are aligning ourselves with the Indian government's ambition of net zero by 2070. We as Adani Ports have set our target to be net zero by 2040. Renewable energy, in case of planet, 48 million trees by 2030. But more important, the species which is mangrove, you would have seen, when you are on the plane and you're looking at the beaches or the coastal line. In Asia, we are the pioneers in doing the mangrove development, and in India, we are the biggest. So which means air, water, land, everywhere, if we have to create the activities which are going to protect the species and which are going to make a planet greener and cleaner so that we hand over the planet to our grandchildren with the growth which we are targeting, which is 10 trillion economy.
Presented.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, is that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
बहुत performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism.
You know, Mr. Sasalu, when one speaks about real estate development in the country, the first thing that comes to my mind are urban spaces where builders come in, destroy old buildings, create these concrete structures, and there is no concept or thinking about how that needs to be sustainable or environmentally friendly. Now, that's obviously something that cannot be the way forward. It's not an option. It's just something that has to be done. How?
Basically, let's understand this, that 7% of the total GDP comes from only residential development in this country, right? So, which means that it's around roughly $500 billion of GDP comes from the housing, which it employs one of the largest employment creator is the housing industry in this country. The real estate development is probably one of the most important aspect of the society creation. Everybody needs a house. 2014, Honorable Prime Minister actually came up with the first housing policy, Housing for All, the sustainability initiative with regards to housing. That Housing for All and the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana was brought in, and several private people also participated in it, and also there is a government initiative which put so many people, homeless people, into homes across the country. With regards to us ruining the real estate developers, ruining the environment, let's understand that we operate under the guidance of what we call the master plans that have been created in all the cities. Our powers do not go beyond those 5 acres or 15 acres or whatever it is. There is no way that we can go to a public road and say, I'm going to improve this road. By touching that road means that you have actually broken a rule or two. So it is just that within that infrastructure that is provided, is where we participate. It is not a blame game. And I think, there is a lot of emphasis that should be given towards the urban development in the country. When we are creating the master plans, it should be comprehensive. We are only developing within the guidelines that is provided by this thing in the amount of constraints that we operate. And I believe that real estate developers must be celebrated rather than being yes, that being criticized is what I think.
Rumjung, people's choices and people's voices. We don't talk about this enough at all when one speaks about infrastructure growth. And the reason it is important to have inclusive growth is because we aren't one homogeneous society. We are a deeply heterogeneous society. But these are just words that I'm saying. How does one have inclusion when it comes to a vision, whether it's real estate, whether it's highways, whether it's buildings or anything else which involves the voices of diverse people?
Absolutely. Vishnu, I think the important thing is that we don't listen to people's needs enough. Infrastructure is meant to improve the quality of life of our citizens. But we cannot assume that infrastructure will be made and they will have to live and operate within that. We need to understand what infrastructure is required for them, how they would like it, and wherever this has been used, this concept has been used, we've seen fantastic results, all of which are sustainable because people know what they need, they want, how to get that and how to operate that so that it benefits them. So we need to do a lot more of that, whether it's urban areas on saying, why is it that a metro is made, but ridership is only 22%? It's because nobody asked them what the challenges are.
Mr. Sahaya, how does Larsen & Toubro reduce your carbon footprint?
So the big challenge for us is how to reduce the carbon footprint from these construction sites. The bulk of the emission takes place on account of the diesel consumption that takes place in these sites. More often they are remote, they are of a temporary nature, between 3 to 5 years typically. They have open boundaries, so to say, and getting connectivity from the grid is not always easy. So a lot of diesel consumption takes place, so the challenge for us was how to reduce the diesel consumption from 70 to 80% of the total mix to less than 60%. And I think over the last 12 to 18 months, a lot of initiatives have been taken. One is to see as far as possible to convert DG sets operation into grid wherever the workmen colonies are there. Secondly, to go in for more energy efficient equipment. We have identified 20 to 25% of our equipment. We are replacing them actively with the newer types of equipment. Then next is we have put IoTs and sensors on 14,000 pieces of equipment. They are tracked centrally in a command center, and they are tracked for both productivity and whether they are in operation or not, and whether what is the kind of fuel consumption taking place. So through optimization of such equipment across sites, improving their productivity, we have been able to reduce the diesel consumption per piece of equipment. And something simple as just setting targets for the various project teams at each site, that despite the increase in the activity, as a company we are growing, we are getting more orders, but we are saying that no, your diesel consumption has to come down. You will grow, but your diesel consumption has to come down. And that itself has had an effect. Our revenues and activities have grown by 15% in the last year, but diesel consumption has dropped by around 7%. So we see that as a significant effect of all these measures.
One final question, Mr. Gupta, to you. This is something that fascinates me. You've seen ports evolve in India, not just the Adani ports, but ports across the country over a period of time. How has technology had, or how is technology having a direct impact on logistics? And when one talks about logistics, there are also constraints because outside the ports, there is the entire highway network. There is the end user who has to gain from all of this. And there are problems and bottlenecks at every stage. So again, two parts. Is there a limit to logistics when we use that word in terms of your business? And how does technology work with logistics?
Now, when I look at all the touch point of the logistics, we talk about vessels, we talk about ports, we talk about warehouses, we talk about yards, we talk about railways, we talk about trucks. Every part is the integral thing of the logistics. Today, when I compare, and this is what the target which India should take and India has taken, to reduce the logistics cost by 5 points. We are 5 points uncompetitive as compared to other best-in-class logistics cost in the world. Imagine if that 5 points goes down, how much effective we will be in the whole world. And
why are we above the world standard?
So the first thing is, do we have a seamless connectivity between all the models of transport? Are we really talking about infrastructure in isolation, or we are talking about infrastructure which is well connected, and that brings the quality of life to the consumer from end to end? So I think the challenge, so let me put it, the opportunity which we have is, thanks to all the policies and the focus of the government on the logistics, is bringing a lot of good things, whether we talk about dedicated freight corridors, whether we talk about multimodal logistic parks, whether we talk about the railway feeders, we talk about warehousing. I mean, everywhere we talk about, there's a special focus on logistics, because we all have realized if we really want to be competitive in the world, we need to work on our logistics cost. When I talk about, if we have to connect the dots of each and every infrastructure which is influencing the trade, the technology platform is the only solution. Technology is an enabler to connect everything. And I think the way we are seeing e-commerce today, how many packets we receive at our home every morning, which is totally different than what it was 5 years before. Let's talk about that logistics, which will be end-to-end seamless.
Yeah. Well, a wonderful start, I would hope, to many more conversations today for this program. And I think this really sets the table for what we were trying to do, which is to look at infrastructure and infrastructure growth from a holistic standpoint. You know, we've looked at it from the standpoint of diversity, different voices. We've looked at it from the standpoint of technology. We've looked at it from the standpoint of carbon emissions. And we've looked at it from the standpoint of India, the macro geostrategic picture as well. All of this comes together for our economic growth as we work towards the 2047 target. But there is no doubt that there are fundamental challenges which lie ahead. We'll continue having these conversations to identify those and think through solutions. Thank you all very much.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India, one world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the topmost news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from
The Aam Aadmi Party promises a Delhi model in poll-bound Haryana. Sunita Kejriwal announces the Aam Aadmi Party's poll guarantees. The party promises free electricity, education and health in the state. The Army Chief visits terror-struck Jammu. Army Chief's crucial security review meet after a series of terror attacks. This as additional troops have been rushed in after the spate of terror attacks. The Karnataka government mulls tax on OTT subscription fees and cinema tickets. The Congress government proposes a 2% entertainment cess. Curfew across Bangladesh amid violent protests. Nearly 800 Indian students leave Bangladesh. India says it's in touch with over 4,000 trapped students. Nearly 105 people dead in unrest over Bangladesh job reservation row. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Vedant Agarwal. Our top story, the election campaign for poll-bound Haryana picking up. This is the Aam Aadmi Party has now kicked off its election campaign in the state. Now remember, Haryana is a crucial state for the Aam Aadmi Party, and now the Aam Aadmi Party has announced, in a sense, a bid to replicate the Delhi model in Haryana. 5 poll guarantees have been announced by the Aam Aadmi Party, including free electricity, free education for all, also some sort of a replication of the Mohalla clinics in Haryana as well. Also in a bid to woo women voters, a welfare measure has been announced where 1,000 rupees has been announced for all women voters in the state as well. It was Chief Minister's wife, Delhi Chief Minister's wife Sunita Kejriwal, who campaigned in Haryana. Remember, the Aam Aadmi Party performed pretty well in the Haryana Panchayat polls as well. And of course, its electoral victory in Punjab has given the Aam Aadmi Party an impetus to expand its tentacles to Haryana as well. Listen in.
आपके लाल केजरीवाल ने 5 गारंटी दी हैं आप सबके लिए, जो दिल्ली पंजाब में हो भी चुकी हैं, कुछ होने वाली हैं। पहली गारंटी है, दिल्ली और पंजाब की तरह घरेलू बिजली फ्री होगी। दूसरी गारंटी, दिल्ली और पंजाब की तरह हर गांव, हर शहर में मोहल्ला क्लिनिक बनाएंगे। सरकारी अस्पताल अच्छे होंगे, सबका अच्छा और फ्री इलाज होगा। तीसरी गारंटी, सरकारी स्कूलों को अच्छा बनाएंगे, जहां अच्छी और फ्री शिक्षा मिलेगी। चौथी गारंटी, हर महिला को हर महीना 1000 रुपया मिलेगा। दिल्ली और पंजाब में भी ये योजना जल्द ही लागू होने वाली है। और पांचवी गारंटी, हर युवा बेरोजगार को के लिए हम रोजगार देंगे।
देखिए, जिस तरीके से आज पंजाब हरियाणा में पंचकुला में यहाँ पर इसका खास आयोजन किया गया था, इस वक्त मैं उसी ऑडिटोरियम के बाहर मौजूद हूँ जहाँ पर आज ये 5 गारंटीज बताई गई है। यहाँ पर पंजाब के मुख्यमंत्री भगवंत मान मौजूद थे, दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल की धर्मपत्नी सुनीता केजरीवाल यहाँ पर मौजूद थी और साथ ही राज्यसभा सांसद आम आदमी पार्टी के संजय सिंह और संदीप पाठक भी यहाँ पर उस समय मौजूद थे। देखिए, जो 5 गारंटीज़ की यहाँ पर बात की गई है वो कोई पुरानी नहीं है आम आदमी पार्टी के लिए, क्योंकि वो दिल्ली मॉडल और पंजाब मॉडल को देखते हुए ही यहाँ पर बताई गई है। पहली जो गारंटी यहाँ पर बताई गई है वो ये है कि जो घरेलू बिजली है उसे फ़िलहाल यहाँ पर फ्री किया जाएगा और 24 घंटे बिजली का वादा भी यहाँ पर आम आदमी पार्टी ने किया है और उन्होंने कहा है कि बिजली के में कोई भी कट नहीं लगेंगे। वहीं दूसरी तरफ उन्होंने मोहल्ला क्लिनिक और साथ ही यहाँ के सरकारी अस्पतालों को अच्छा और बेहतर बनाने की बात सामने कही है। तीसरी गारंटी वही शिक्षा को लेकर के कि फ्री शिक्षा प्रोवाइड की जाएगी और साथ ही साथ जो सरकारी स्कूल है उन्हें भी और बेहतर यहाँ पर बनाया जाएगा। साथ ही जो चौथी गारंटी थी वो ये थी कि हर महीने महिलाओं को 1000 रुपये उनके अकाउंट में मिलेंगे। उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि दिल्ली और पंजाब में भी जल्द ही इस गारंटी को लागू किया जाएगा। और 5वीं गारंटी जो यहाँ पर थी वो ये थी कि सभी युवाओं को नौकरी दी जाएगी। इन तमाम 5 गारंटीज़ को लेकर के आम आदमी पार्टी के जो तमाम कार्यकर्ता यहाँ पर मौजूद थे उनका ये कहना है कि ये जो 5 गारंटीज़ है ये काफ़ी महत्वपूर्ण है, खास तौर पर हरियाणा में, क्योंकि उन्होंने ये भी आरोप लगाया कि बीजेपी ने पिछले 10 साल में यहाँ पर कोई काम नहीं किया है, चाहे वो बिजली को लेकर के हो, चाहे वो शिक्षा को लेकर के हो। तो ये तमाम जो गारंटीज़ है ये एक इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल यहाँ पर ज़रूर प्ले करेगी। जी।
So politics picking up in election-bound Haryana. But moving now to the other big headline, well, the army chief visited terror-struck Jammu. This is his second visit to Jammu in just 20 days. He took over as the army chief a couple of weeks back. Now remember, this visit becomes crucial because there have been a series of terror attacks in the Jammu region, and it's clearly now Jammu and not the valley that has become the epicenter of militancy. This is, of course, central agency officials were also present for that crucial security review meeting in Jammu, and additional troops have also been rushed into Jammu in the wake of all these terror attacks. In fact, 4,000 additional soldiers have been brought into the region. Take a look.
This meeting sends a larger message because the army chief coming all the way from Delhi to Jammu, holding a security review meeting at the police headquarters of Jammu and Kashmir Police, and wherein all the security agencies, central forces, they all joined this meeting, top officials, to review the security situation, to see what would be the best possible response given the fact this challenge of militancy which has emerged in Jammu region, which has infested 8 districts out of 10 districts in Jammu region. It has posed a major challenge. Has come after Prime Minister himself, held this cabinet committee on security meeting on the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. Home Minister also yesterday held a security review meeting, and there have been series of meetings going on in Jammu and Kashmir as well to deal with this emerging situation, because the adversary, the enemy, their change is posing a huge challenge after attack, and they managed escape. So there has been, at the ground level, operational level, there have been meetings, there has been joint strategies being devised. So Army Chief General Upender Dwivedi, chairing the security meeting at the police headquarters in Jammu. After the meeting, he's expected to meet Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha to discuss the security situation with him and brief him about the situation. Because what we see in Jammu, army has become a specific target of these major militant attacks.
Right.
In last over 30 months, 32 months, there have been 48 casualties of the army in major militant attacks And there has not been much success against the attackers. Now the more troops have been deployed in different areas of Jammu. Paratroopers have also been moved. Early this year, almost one division of troops were deployed in Poonch and Rajouri. Now troops are also being deployed in Doda and other regions also to deal with this situation.
And moving now to the Karnataka government's latest controversial move. Well, the government has decided to impose a 2% tax on cinema tickets and OTT subscription fees. Well, it's still being mulled over by the Congress government in Karnataka, but the proposal is certainly with the cabinet. The Karnataka government says that this would help the government to, in a sense, benefit artists and people involved in the industry, and also to create a fund meant for industry workers. It is, of course, an industry that is not very regulated, which is why the Karnataka government says it has decided to mull over a 2% entertainment cess. But this has, in a sense, sparked sharp responses from people within the industry, also the opposition, because the BJP says that this move is against the people of the state. Take a look at all the reactions that have come in, and then Pratibha with the latest.
I think it is absolutely okay, because whatever we are seeing or facilitating we are getting from the government, it is from our tax only. And though it is a entertainment, so it is not the thing, some essential things that it is being taken from everybody. I am not seeing the movie every day, no. It may be for once in a month or twice in a month. So it is an entertainment. It is not some compulsory things. So definitely I will pay.
I don't think it's fair. I mean, I think all they're saying is, instead of coming to the theatres, by increasing the cess, they're just asking us to sit back and watch the OTT platforms. They're encouraging us more to go towards OTT platforms than inviting people to come and have a social life in the cinema theatres.
Still, are you going to movies?
I think now with this, I'm going to decide on this. Probably I'll pay more for the other OTT platforms and subscribe to new platforms now. That's what it's going to be. Yeah.
Now, this is a bill that was introduced yesterday during the assembly session. And when you talk about this bill, it introduces a 2% cess, keeping in mind the welfare of cinema and cultural artists. Now, what does this 2% cess mean? It means an increase of 2% when it comes to movie tickets, when it comes to subscription fees and other related revenues. This is mainly done for the welfare of technicians, crew, as well as the artists. And apart from this, they have also suggested that this cess rate would be revised every 2 or 3 years. There would also be a constitution of a welfare board and a fund that will be established for the welfare of social security and welfare and financing schemes as well. Now, this bill has been tabled yesterday during the assembly session. We'll have to wait to see whether this will be passed based on the reactions that we would pick up on ground. When you talk about movie tickets, it starts from anywhere between 120 and 150 rupees when it comes to normal theatres, and it goes up to around 220 to around 1000 rupees when it comes to multiplex. And this price would definitely increase during weekends. Now, when you talk about southern India, movies and cricket become the two things that they cannot really live without. So will they still get to the movie theatres even if it affects their budget or not, is something that we really need to assess before this bill gets passed in the assembly. So this is the reactions that the politicians perhaps have been waiting for. We'll have to wait to see how this will get through in this assembly session here. Back to you.
So a contentious move there. But moving now to political news from Tamil Nadu. Well, there's a lot of buzz about Udayanidhi Stalin taking over as the Deputy Chief Minister of the state. But of course, he is now clarified. He says it's the prerogative of the Chief Minister to decide who his deputy will be. Take a look.
இந்த ஆண்டு பல குளறுபடிகள் இருக்கிறதான வழக்கு நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்கு. ஆனா அது தமிழ்நாடு அரசோட பங்கீடு இல்லையா சார்? தமிழ்நாடு அரசு தொடர்ந்து எதிர்த்து தான் இருக்கு. நம்ம சட்ட மசோதா நிறைவேற்றி ஆளுநருக்கு அமைச்சிருக்கிறோம். இந்த ஆண்டு பல குளறுபடிகள் இருக்கிறதான வழக்கு நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்கு. ஆனா அது தமிழ்நாடு அரசோட பங்கீடு இல்லையா சார்? தமிழ்நாடு அரசு தொடர்ந்து எதிர்த்து தான் இருக்கு. நம்ம சட்ட மசோதா நிறைவேற்றி ஆளுநருக்கு அமைச்சிருக்கிறோம். இந்த ஆண்டு பல குளறுபடிகள் இருக்கிறதான வழக்கு நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்கு. ஆனா அது தமிழ்நாடு அரசோட பங்கீடு இல்லையா சார்? தமிழ்நாடு அரசு தொடர்ந்து எதிர்த்து தான் இருக்கு. நம்ம சட்ட மசோதா நிறைவேற்றி ஆளுநருக்கு அமைச்சிருக்கிறோம்.
And with that, we'll take a short break now, but news continues on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand. in association.
Get the magic of the best working for you now.
Link your payment cards once, collect rewards forever.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, is that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
Welcome back. The latest from Bangladesh, which of course continues to be on the boil. There are violent protests across Bangladesh over 30% reservation in government jobs. And now the Bangladesh government has announced a nationwide curfew after protests went out of control. There you can see those dramatic visuals coming in from Bangladesh. The focus here in India is on bringing back Indian nationals and students in Bangladesh. As many as 800 Indian students have returned to India via the land route, and India says it's in touch with the other over 4,000 students still trapped in the neighboring country. And remember earlier, India in a statement had said that this is Bangladesh's internal matter, and our focus is on ensuring the safety of the Indian nationals in Bangladesh. Now this, as the situation continues to spiral out of control and the police are finding it difficult to control the agitators, the opposition parties have also extended their support to the protesters. Take a look at what some of the Indians there who returned to India had to say.
देखिए, बड़ा चिंताजनक विषय है। छात्रों की हमेशा जो बातें हैं, जो प्रॉब्लम्स हो, वो सुननी चाहिए और मुझे पूरा यकीन है कि बांग्लादेश की जो सरकार है, कई बार से सरकार बनी है, वहाँ के जो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी हैं, बहुत ही अनुभवी प्रधानमंत्री हैं। लोगों का जनमत उनको एक बार नहीं कई बार प्राप्त हो चुका है और ये लोग अपने इस आंतरिक मसले को लोग बैठ के बहुत जल्दी हल हो जाएगा, उसमें हमें पूरा विश्वास है इस बात का।
जहाँ पे मेन यूनिवर्सिटी में जहाँ पे क्लासेस हो रहा है, प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा है, वहाँ पे सिचुएशन अच्छा नहीं है। हमारे यूनिवर्सिटी के एरिया में तो सब नॉर्मल ही है, लेकिन फिर भी हमें रिस्क लगा तो हम आ गए, लेकिन और फिर कल रात से कर्फ्यू भी हो गया, तो अभी नहीं चालू है। नहीं, थर्सडे नाइट से शायद बंद हुआ था, उसके बाद कोई कांटेक्ट नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है। रास्ते में कोई लोकल्स ने ऐसे रास्ता रोक के रखे थे, उन लोगों ने कुछ टाका मांगा जाने के लिए, तो थोड़ा बहुत पैसे उन लोगों को दे के फिर हम लोग आ गए।
Extremely concerning there, the situation in Bangladesh. But moving now to the other big international headline, well, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, and this has made the contest for the White House even more interesting in a sense, as many would say, because there are experts who point out that the assassination attempt at Donald Trump has, in a sense, defined the 2024 mandate, and this could be one of the deciding factors as far as the elections in the US are concerned. Joining me at this hour, a very special guest, John Bolton, the former National Security Advisor of the US. Thanks very much, Mr. Bolton, for being with us. My first question to you, after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump and the events that followed, of course, his fiery speech there as well, where he said that Biden has made unthinkable damage to the United States, how do you see the election panning out at this stage of the campaign?
Well, I think Trump is ahead of Biden. I don't think there's any question about that. I think the choice the Democrats face is a certain defeat with Biden or a probable defeat with some other candidate. And the longer that they delay in making up their mind which they're going to do, the greater the chance that a Trump victory over Joe Biden would be even bigger, perhaps bringing more Republican senators and House members in to win on his coattails. And the harder it would be if they get Biden out, the harder it would be on whoever the substitute is to wage a national campaign in a very short period of time. It's been 3 weeks now since the presidential debate, and those 3 weeks alone have been debilitating, certainly to Biden, but to the Democratic Party as a whole, all of which obviously is to Trump's benefit and the benefit of the Republican Party down ballot, as we say it, House, Senate, state, and local races.
So that's an interesting point you're making there, Mr. Bolton, that Trump is ahead of Biden. But if he returns to power, what could be the implications for India, particularly as far as trade is concerned?
Well, that's certainly what Trump is saying. He's talking about a 10% tariff on everything imported into the United States. I think that would crash the economy, maybe crash the global economy. The problem, there are always trade problems between countries. That it's even among the closest allies, it's always a difficult negotiation. The issue he should focus on is the threat posed by China, a threat that's been out there for decades of their stealing intellectual property, engaging in unfair trade practices, subsidizing credit and financial arrangements for their companies, playing a double game in the World Trade Organization. What the U.S. should do is go after those specific problems, get our friends and other trading partners who are harmed by this Chinese behavior, get them together and present a more united front to China. That's the kind of trade policy that we really need. Whether Trump will do it remains to be seen.
That's right. And India and the US have emerged as very close partners, whether it's in defense or military or other areas of bilateral cooperation. How do you see that relationship progressing, irrespective of who wins the White House?
Well, I think there are a lot of avenues of prospective cooperation, and I think we should be exploring them more vigorously than we are now. Not just because of the Chinese threat, which India feels quite acutely because of your border with China, but also because I think everybody needs to take into account the new global alignment that's going on. I mean, there is now a China-Russia axis. It reminds us of the Sino-Soviet alliance of the Cold War, except this time China's in charge. And, you know, I'm very well aware, as I'm sure your listeners are, of the relations between India and Russia. We saw Prime Minister Modi's trip there and recently. But if Russia becomes more closely aligned with China and with India's biggest potential threat, one would have to ask whether India shouldn't be positioning itself in a way that makes it not simply independent of China's economic power, but more separate from Russia's as well.
Thanks very much, Mr. Bolton, for joining us on NDTV this evening. Very interesting perspective there. This as a race for the White House becomes even more interesting and keenly watched across the world. And now our special report. Well, India's largest shooting team is in Paris. 21 shooters are aiming for medals. National and world champion in 10-meter air rifle shooting, Ilavenil Vallavarian, got trained before she qualified for Paris Olympics. What really has been her story? My colleague Sam Daniel reports.
It was at this state-of-art Gun for Glory Academy's shooting range in Chennai. National and world champion in 10-meter air rifle shooting, Ilavenil Vallavarian, got trained before she qualified for Paris Olympics. Founded by Olympic bronze medalist Gagan Narang, his mentoring and the crucial 360-degree support by the centre catapulted her to the big league. The Gun for Glory Academy, shooters say, has emerged to be a one-stop solution as it takes care of aspirants completely, from weapons to consumables to fitness.
A facility like this, with all the equipments, with all the support what they are offering, I think is a must for any athlete, because at the end of the day, everything comes down to the team what we are having, you know, a coach, a mind trainer, a psychologist, a physiotherapist, a fitness trainer, and you name it, everything is being provided by Gun for Glory. So I think an association like this is made for athletes who are aiming for the best.
Ilavenil's coach Neha Chavan, who has been her mentor since day one of her shooting career, shares a guru-shishya bond with Ilavenil that transcends beyond shooting. She has been her guide in her parents' absence, be it wake her up at 4 in the morning and even picking her up and reaching the range by 5, a routine that two have followed for the past 9 years. Over the years, the Khelo India accredited Chennai Academy and its scholarship for exceptional shooting talent has emerged topper among their centers spread over Hyderabad, Pune and Jabalpur.
It has a good infrastructure, whatever it is required. Then we have everything. We have a cafeteria downstairs. We have a swimming pool, as well as we have a gym. So everything is inside. A sports science facility, which is fantastic. We have good doctors. So everything is under one roof. Athletes come here at 8:39 in the morning and they leave this place 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening, finishing all their work. So we are more focused and dedicated towards the sport.
In 2022, Dhanush had won a gold in Deaf Olympics, and this time the academy hopes at least 2 more would win Olympic medals. The center grooms many talents, all potential Olympians. One of them, Madineni Uma Mahesh, with national and international laurels. He aims at the 2028 Olympics.
So my aim is for next Commonwealth Games in the 2026, but the main goal is for the 2028 LA Olympics to get a gold medal for India. I would say I am here today because of this academy itself, because of the facilities they provided and the coach and the support, not only like in the shooting sport, in the lives through the infrastructure, all the advanced technologies required. It's because of this academy is it possible for me today to be here.
India is fielding a 21-member Indian shooting team that will compete at the Paris 2024 Olympics. This will be India's largest ever shooting contingent at the Olympics, eclipsing the 15 from Tokyo 2020. With India achieving quotas across all Olympic shooting disciplines for the first time, the hopes for extending their medal tally and making the Paris Olympics the most successful event in history will be sky high. As Ilavenil gears up for her big day in Olympics, these shooters and trainers in Chennai would be rooting for her. In Chennai with Suresh, Sam Daniel for NDTV.
So what an absolutely incredible story there. We're all rooting for her. With that, we'll take a short break now, but news continues on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
MSMEs are the backbone for the country's economy. They account for 45% of exports.
Frequent changes in GST tariffs and norms has proven to become a very tough issue for the small micro units.
The budget should be in a growth-oriented budget. So we should bring more manufacturers into the fold of GST.
Particularly for micro and small-scale industries, kindly give us a export benefit incentive to us.
But for a micro or small-scale industry to go up, there should be a hand-holding mechanism which is definitely required.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections.
Hello and welcome to our special series, The Budget of Hope. Today here in Jaipur, we are with a series of women entrepreneurs. Jaipur is known for its rich craft tradition, and interestingly, a lot of women have actually promoted this craft and made it into a successful business. In fact, we are here at a very iconic store. It's called Ratan Textiles. The story of Ratan Textiles is really actually very interesting. It started as a small boutique, as a homegrown enterprise. Today, it's a huge export business, and 3 generations of women are running this enterprise. So what do women want from the budget? Not just women who are women entrepreneurs or business women, but women in the service industry. First and foremost, I have with me Savita Jain ji. It's such a pleasure to welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation in NDTV. Savita ji is the person who started Ratan Textile. Savita ji, आपने कैसे शुरू किया? घर से शुरू किया और आज हम देख रहे हैं कि इतना बड़ा बिजनेस बन गया है जो रंगाई, छपाई और एक तरह से जो रिसाइकलिंग होती है गारमेंट्स की, उसका एक उदाहरण बन गया है
ये बहुत छोटे से बिजनेस से मैंने चालू किया था। मुझे बचपन से ही शौक था प्रिंटिंग का और कशीदा सिलाई वगैरह का, इसलिए मैंने ये चालू किया था।
तो जब आपने शुरू किया सिर्फ घर में थे और कितने कारीगर थे उस टाइम आपके पास?
नहीं, मेरे पास कोई कारीगर भी नहीं था और घर में सब मेरी हेल्प करते थे, मदर इन लॉ, फादर इन लॉ, इसलिए मुझे इसको करने का वो मिला।
और आज आप देखते हैं कि इतना बड़ा बिजनेस बन गया है जो एक्सपोर्ट भी कर रहा है, और आपके सिर्फ बेटियां ही नहीं, आपकी बहुएं ही नहीं, आपकी ग्रैंड डॉटर्स भी इसमें जुड़ गई है। तो कैसा लगता है आपको आज?
बहुत अच्छा लगता है। मेरी ग्रैंड सन्स और ग्रैंड डॉटर्स एंड मेरी सब बहुएं सब इसी बिजनेस में आ गई है, इसलिए बहुत अच्छा लगता है
जी। So that really is the entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial spirit of women in Jaipur. Now I have with me Raghushri Podar, who is the chairperson of FICCI Flow. Raghushri, we've seen that Jaipur actually has a very strong entrepreneurial spirit, and we see a lot of women are starting out businesses. What do you think the government needs to do to promote more of this industry?
Thank you for inviting me. And the main thing which I have realized with the time is, जैसे आपने concept डाला कि make in India, why not make by Indian women and create a cluster, industrial cluster. And agar ye cluster, if done very well, we can have an organization which promotes and make trade fairs where only entrepreneurs of Rajasthan or all over India you can promote and make it a brand called Made by Indian Women, and creating this cluster, taking it forward ahead and giving subsidies to women. You know, women traveling for fairs is not easy. Most of the time they depend on men. I believe there are two concepts which women in India is lacking is, one is that the men pushing them, but let's push them ahead by giving them more opportunities, making trade fairs only made by women products. So this would take us way ahead. Second point which I feel is that sometimes the women doesn't know about loan and banking. So digitally, when we were surveying, 50% women have no idea they're directors or they're partners or they're proprietors in the company. So once they know their power and right, they can rise more further. So the education is just not being literate about doing BA, MCom or something, but being literate about their financial power also.
Let me just move to Pooja now. Pooja, so let me tell you that Pooja runs a very interesting enterprise. It's a offshoot of Ratan, which is textile. She's into handmade paper products. So not only are you, Pooja, conserving a dying craft and a dying tradition, but you also employ a lot of women. What are the benefits or incentives you would look for from the government, because we are calling it Budget of Hope and we're looking specifically at what women want?
So basically, we do handmade recycled paper. Now for recycled paper, it is made from cotton waste, and we don't cut trees for that. And that is converted into products and various other things. Now,
so it's a green industry also?
Yeah. And it's totally recycled. The handmade paper can again be recycled. There's no plastic waste and nothing in that. Earlier, before GST, there was no VAT on handmade paper industry. But now, unfortunately, there is 18% GST on handmade paper and handmade paper products. How will this industry survive with such a high GST in front of mill paper? Wherever handwork is involved, automatically the cost of the product goes high. And upar se you have that 18% GST also. GST percentage is same on the mill paper and handmade paper. So how will it sustain?
Right.
That's the thing. So what I'm looking for...
So rationalizing GST rates, I think that's what you're saying.
If not like zero, like a minimal GST of 5% is what I think government should...
And right now it's at 18%, you said?
Yeah, it's at 18%.
Over to Rimi Shekhawat. Dr. Rimi Shekhawat is a well-known professional. Apart from being a working woman, she also runs a hospital with her husband. Rimi, we talked a lot about healthcare. So my first question to you is healthcare in terms of, the private-public partnership, where the government is looking, and Rajasthan took the lead in that, where the government is looking at bringing in healthcare through involving private hospitals also. But there were many issues and problems with that. How do you see that? What do you expect from the budget in terms of, sort of making healthcare accessible to all?
So thank you, Harsha. Basically, it's been like more than 25 years and I have been like a graduate from SMS Medical College, Rajasthan. So I'm seeing so many, if we are talking about female entrepreneurship, so being in the medical profession, dedicating 10 prime years of your life into it and coming out and facing the business in such a, you can say, squeezed out atmosphere, that is very, very difficult to survive. So it becomes very difficult to run a good hospital with ultra modern advanced technologies, instruments, all the expertise, definitely in the private sector. So I would definitely suggest that doctors should also be taken into consideration. They are also the voters. They are also the
What do you want from the government? What do you think the government should do?
The government should give subsidies and also all sorts of loan facilities. Basically, the budget has been curtailed at many places. I would say for getting the loans and getting the finance, that is also like very much cramped up conditions. In case if I'm talking about the lady doctors, then definitely there should be some special, you can say, budget allocation to them, because once they come out with their professional degrees, they need to open up their setups, and for that they need a lot of finance. And for that, if government can allocate something specially for them, that will be very, very good.
You're looking at a lot of young entrepreneurs starting out. So your name, please. And what you were talking to me about how purchasing power has actually become, a challenge because, because of the way the economy is going. So just introduce yourself. She's third generation working in Ratan Textiles. Introduce yourself and tell us, what do you want from the budget?
Okay, so I'm Vedika and I recently happened to come back to Jaipur to my business, and I think that's the best move I've taken so far because it's been a legacy that has been carrying on for so long, so why miss the opportunity? And while I came back very recently, what I understood, like, if supposing today the GST bracket in our industry is 5 to 12%, so ultimately you're charging the customer for it, right? So if you can just reduce the entire bracket to 5% altogether, so ultimately if more people are buying your products, the government is going to get the benefits any which ways. But if the tax is higher, so people don't purchase as much. And apart from that, back in 2022, the repo rate was around 4%, and now it's 6.5. So there is not enough power in the hands of the consumers ultimately to spend as much as they could. So I feel that is where a rectification can be made.
We have two more ladies with us. They are both working in a very niche sector, which is the handicraft sector. And it's not just handicraft, actually. It's even more niche than that, I would say, Priyamvada and Shivani. So what they're doing is they're promoting and preserving a very ancient craft tradition, which is Araish. But, since they're not even enough skilled labor, they also train and skill people to take on this craft and work at it, and then so you preserve a dying craft, give it a new impetus, and also create products out of it, which is a business. So Priyamvada, Priyamvada Golecha, first to you, what do you expect from the government to do specifically for a sector like yours? And we are talking about these sectors because these are really sectors which are very much, working in the economy. You can find them here in Jaipur especially because Jaipur itself has such a rich craft tradition.
So just give a little introduction on Araish. It's traditionally done on walls. It's lime plaster. So traditionally all our homes were made of lime, but after independence barely any homes were made in lime, and it's a dying tradition because most homes are made of cement today. So we've lost a very traditional building skill. So when Shivani and I met, we thought it'd be very interesting to bring something that's done on walls to a terracotta object, so it becomes a piece that can be carried around. So something that's limited to buildings gets transferred onto products, so it becomes transferable.
What are the kind of incentive support that you would require from the government? Because not only are you working in a very niche industry, there's a lack of skilled labor in that particular industry.
I think craft is a very unique manufacturing opportunity that India has, and it has to be treated as every other sector. So we need skill building. The craft that we work in is a very endangered craft. So skill building is very important to us. So we have to identify our master crafts people. We have to find people who want to get trained in a certain craft. So the government will have to build initiatives so that people are lured to learn a craft and take it forward, and then the industry has to step in to create lucrative job opportunities so people see potential in carrying forward a craft.
This product that you have created, now the labor component in this entire industry is very important. You don't have labor, enough labor, you're skilling the labor. What do you expect from the government in terms of, do you expect tax holidays, or like you were saying that you would expect the government to actually hold workshops so that you can skill this, and they should provide incentives for that?
So yeah, the master craftsmen who are around, the few that are around, maybe they need to, be helped by the government.
So they can pass on their craft.
So that they can pass on their knowledge and craft to the the younger generation and people who are interested in doing this work. So not very many people are interested in doing this work because it's labor intensive, it's time consuming.
Skill building programs is very important. Yes. So we have to identify our master crafts people. And we have to find people either from the traditional families who still want to learn the crafts of their fathers and grandfathers, or people beyond the traditional communities who want to learn the craft because they have a keen interest in it. And the government has to give stipends to these master craftsmen for training other people and people who are interested in getting skilled to create a program where they can earn a decent livelihood, and then they can be absorbed by industry.
You were also talking about how you're planning to train women to even do miniature art.
Yes, so the other project I work on is Khanum, which is ceramics and miniature painting. So we're working with very traditional pottery and we're working with miniature painting and bringing these two skills together, which was never done in the past. And traditionally, miniature painting was only done by men in the karkhanas. Women didn't traditionally practice it. But now in the studio, we have a lot of a lot of men who are interested in training their daughters. So we've got a lot of women coming to the studio, and it's a whole training program that we are setting up so that women can partake on this craft.
So skilling women. I think maybe the government should step in and give, what you're saying is incentives for that, to skill women is what we're talking about. Also for someone who runs, an export business. So I have Sapna with me, who's very much, very much part of the Ratan family. Sapna, for someone who runs a very successful export business, what do you expect from the government to help you in terms of exports?
Okay, so procuring raw material is a big problem for us, like the yarn, which is like what we get in India. It is more expensive than what is being exported. Like to Bangladesh especially, they get a rebate of like 5%. So what we procure in India, it's more expensive. So the final product which comes out to be more expensive than the neighboring countries. So people are going like for production and all, they go to our neighboring countries just to make the final production thing, ordering in India instead of they go to the neighboring countries. So our export, like what we expect कि हमारे को ज़्यादा orders मिलेंगे, it's just passing on to the neighboring countries.
Yeah, I think that's
because of the fabric cost.
Yeah, that's a very important point. Rashmi, I just want to bring it to you now, toss it to you. So what she said is very important. A small little country like Bangladesh is doing much better than us on exports. Somewhere do you think there is also a need to skill and rationalize the labor laws and the labor and have more skilled labor?
Thank you, Harsha. Yeah, I definitely think that we really need to rationalize a lot of labor laws and also skill as far as women are concerned. Because I am like closely working with women, especially from the rural sector, and I really believe that they have a lot of creativity and they have a lot of scope of coming to the forefront if their opportunities are provided to them. But since the policies are not so clear, I guess, to the women of this sector. So I believe that if the policies are brought to the forefront in a more simplified manner, then the women can really, step out and they can contribute to the family's expenses, giving them a lot of confidence and, making very useful, like creating things which we miss on generally because, less of women are there on the workforce. And
I would like to in fact put that question to you, Apra, because what she said, since you are with various industry bodies, you were asking me, so my very technical, it's a very sort of a technical question in that sense. Women are stepping into the workforce. What do you think women need? Because you're representing industry bodies, but you're also representing the women who are working in that industry.
Thank you, Harsha. So, yes, absolutely, women are stepping into the workforce and we are very hopeful about the budget, and I'm sure women also are very, very hopeful because it's going to be the first budget after the Lok Sabha elections, and, there are, the finance minister somehow has created that kind of a buzz in the interim budget also, whether it's the Mudra scheme or it is the health cover under the Ayushman Bharat scheme, women are actually needing more. So yes, they definitely need more access to finance incentives. They need more kind of information about what is available and where. So whether it's the Startup India or whether it is the Women Economic Platform, the WEP, or there are these Atal incubators. So they need more information that कहाँ पर क्या चीज़ है, what is available where, because I write a column for startups in a national daily every Sunday. You will be very surprised, out of 10 emails I receive, about 7 to 8 emails, they ask basic questions like, we do not have finance, how do we begin? So every time, I tell them that there is a lot available, but that information is somehow not kind of, gone in the right manner. They also need better
healthcare and medical facilities. So whether it is the cervical cancer vaccination available free of cost, because if we prepare them physically, if we prepare them to be physically very, very strong, emotionally and mentally women are the strongest, you know. I mean, I can take that liberty to say this, that yes, they are considered more strong. So yes, you know, they can just step out and do lots and lots of things. So whether it is in the Anganwadis or there are, you know, these ASHA workers, they need better health cover. They also need the income tax slabs to be absolutely competitive, and you know, there are certain kind of incentives which should be only be available for the women.
I think that's a very important point, because for women it's not just economics, it's also about empowerment. उन्होंने जैसे बताया, आपका नाम बताइए?
मेरा मीना शर्मा। नमस्ते मैम।
नमस्ते मीना जी, ऐसे जो महिलाएं, आप पहली जनरेशन की महिला होंगी जो अपने घर से बाहर आके नौकरी कर रही हैं, जो नौकरी करने की जो महिलाएं हैं उसमें से आपको क्या चाहिए, आप क्या चाहते हैं सरकार से, जो आप जैसे कि टैक्स कम हो या महंगाई पे, या और क्या सुविधा आप चाहते हैं टैक्स से, क्योंकि सरकार से, क्योंकि अब बजट आने वाला है?
जी नमस्ते मैम, मैं ये चाहती हूँ सरकार से कि एक तो महंगाई कम की जाए, और बहुत ज़्यादा महंगाई बढ़ा, सिलेंडर के दाम बढ़ जाते हैं तो घर का चलाना मुश्किल हो जाता है, बजट बिगड़ जाता है, सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट इतना होता है। तो सरकार से रिक्वेस्ट है कि हमारी महंगाई कम की जाए और डॉक्टर फैसिलिटी अच्छी की जाए, और बच्चों को पढ़ाने के लिए भी कुछ फीस वगैरह जो हाई होती है वो थोड़ा लो किया जाए।
Everybody is not a businesswoman, and we, in that sense, all of us come from privileged backgrounds. But what is when you have interacted with women, what do you think they need? Like she said something very simple, like, you know, cylinder prices can throw an entire budget out of control.
Very right. We did a survey in a Barodia Basti in Bani Park. Out of 100 women, they were working in household. So when they were coming back home, we asked them that how much bank account do you have? Believe me, out of 50 women, 25 knew what is bank account. बोले बैंक थोड़ी जाने देंगे हमारे घर वाले. So the money they are earning, maybe 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, they said that we keep it somewhere hidden, because the male of the family can take it. But if they know that they are able to have a bank account, which is not in household women, इसको एक सरकार बहुत गहराई से देखे कि जो ये जो 2 नंबर में कैश दिए जा रहे हैं वो अगर 1 नंबर के खाते में डालें तो उनकी फैमिली और उनको एक सपोर्ट मिलेगा, ब्याज मिलेगा, सेविंग अकाउंट मिलेगा. They will understand banking.
I'm just going to put it to you, Pooja, because you have so many women who are working for you. What are the challenges that you face? Like she said, you know, it's really important in the economy that we link women, the women workforce, with banking. There's no question about it.
So I'll tell you, basically in our industry, especially in garment industry, there is like cutting and packaging, especially thread cutting is the area. It's like majorly 80-90% women or 100% women, I think so. So we went to, there is a village nearby, Bassi, and we thought we'll send the bus and get 15-20 ladies and teach them and get them every day and drop them every day. Everything was finalized, But the main thing is that they don't want to step out from their comfort zone to the factory. They want to sit there in their house and do the work. They are okay with that. You know, that hitch is still there. जो गांव की महिलाएं हैं ना, उनमें ये है.
There's a hitch to come out.
You know, that जागरूकता, someone needs to go and tell them and break that ice.
And also tell them that it's safe to come to work. Like you were saying, you were going to give them a bus, you would bring them to a safe environment and send them back safely. So I think that safety angle is very important. I think we're just running out of time. So now to Rimi. Rimi, we've talked about various things. You know, I think if I were to sum it up, skilling women, you know, making women aware, creating safe work environments, and like she said, link them to banking. Very, very important. Apart from, of course, what the others said about GST, increasing the taxation net and having very niche, you know, looking at niche craft industries. But, you know, from the healthcare perspective, what do you think women want from this budget? Because you have dealt with so many women who are coming into your hospital to access healthcare.
Actually, the thing is that everything has been like on the papers it is very lucrative, but on the ground that is the harsh reality. Whatever benefits the females as a patients, especially in the case of mother child care part, they have been allocated almost 5 lakh in a card, but that card has been misused. by their family members. Even if they will show something else, they'll take out the money out of that. So basically the direct beneficiary, that female should be, it is not happening on the ground reality. So I would always suggest that whatever is made for them, it should be easily accessible
and directly to them.
Directed to them.
So thank you very much for this very interesting conversation. So I think to sum it up, really what we are coming at is that, the need, of course, this is like I said, we are talking to very successful women entrepreneurs in Jaipur. They've worked with traditional crafts and have made them successful businesses, like where we are sitting. What started as a small domestic enterprise is now a huge export business. Apart from that, we have women who worked with, niche craft, dying craft traditions. We have representatives from the industry. I think the summing up is that, more skilled labor force. Women are slowly stepping into the labor force. So things like linking them directly with banking, giving them a safe work environment, like what Pooja said, so that more and more people, agree to come out of their homes and work. Like what Apra and the others said, about the taxation net, making GST simpler, and of course making women aware. A lot of women are not aware about the finance that they can get access to start a business. They're also not skilled enough perhaps to pick up jobs. So what you need to do perhaps is work on the human resource. That is the women, that is the Adhi, Abadi. And of course, women have a lot of hope from this budget because remember, the finance minister is also a woman.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
बहुत performance सही सारे ने दिए बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Vedant Agarwal. Our special focus at this hour. Well, the Karnataka government has decided to impose taxes, a 2% cess on OTT subscription fees and cinema tickets. This is something that is a proposal by the government. What do you think about it? Should OTT fees be taxed as well? What is the motive behind it? Why is taxing the common man the only solution? That remains our top focus on the show. But first up, the headlines at this hour. The Aam Aadmi Party promises a Delhi model in poll-bound Haryana. Sunita Kejriwal announces the Aam Aadmi Party's poll guarantees. The promises include free electricity, education and health. Army Chief visits terror-struck Jammu. Army Chief's crucial security review meet. This as additional troops have been rushed in after a series of terror attacks. The Karnataka government mulls tax on OTT fees and film tickets. The Congress government proposes a 2% entertainment cess. Curfew across Bangladesh amid violent protests. Nearly 800 Indian students leave Bangladesh. India in touch with the other 4,000 trapped students. Over 105 people, remember, have died in the unrest over Bangladesh job reservation row. And our special focus at this hour, well, the Karnataka government is considering a 2% cess on movie tickets and OTT subscription fees to support cinema and cultural artists. This cess will apply to cinema tickets, OTT subscription fees and all related such revenue streams. Now remember, this is a contentious move because the opposition in the state, the BJP, has said that this is extremely burdensome. In fact, this has also sparked sharp responses from, common folks as well, including people from within the industry. What we are asking on the show this evening is taxing the common man the only solution, given the fact that the common man is already reeling under inflationary pressures and there's everything that is heavily taxed. In fact, the common man, Indians across sectors are actually looking forward to some sort of tax relief, tax cuts in the upcoming budget. But the Karnataka government now mulling over a 2% cess on OTT subscription fees and cinema tickets. And this bill, remember, is now with the cabinet, and the Karnataka government says that the bill has been proposed to, in a sense, create funds for artists and people within the entertainment industry. But the larger question here is taxing the middle class the only solution, especially when it comes to platforms like the OTT, which are widely consumed. But the fact here is, of course, that the Karnataka government is mulling over this, and the proposal is with the cabinet. And joining me this evening, Murtaza Ali Khan, a film critic. Thanks very much, sir, for joining us on the show this evening. I'll go across to you. But first, let me go across to our first caller on the show this evening. Balasubramaniam is joining us from Chennai. Go ahead, sir, and tell us what your opinions are as far as this proposal by the Karnataka government is concerned.
See, basically, it should be welcome if it is going to benefit to the artists and other things. And it's only 2% cess on the OTT and movie tickets. If it is going to helpful to the artists of the industry, then it is definitely welcome to that. So
that's an interesting point you're making, that if it benefits people from the industry, whether it's technicians, junior artists, or of course artists across the board, then this is a welcome move. But don't you think this will ultimately affect the common man? The subscriptions will take a hit as well?
Yeah, subscriptions are really taking a hit. It is only 2%. The subscription charges are hardly about 100, 200, 300 like that. That only 6 rupees. But the other thing is that actually if it is, there are many artists in the industry, they have not been taken care at all. So they are basically, we hear that many artists in the industry, they even strive for the daily livelihood kind of the thing. So they have to be helped. So being an entertainment, people, those who are entertaining public, they also have to be looked at. So people, those who are entertaining us, we are reciprocating by giving them something. This is good.
Right, Mr. Balasubramaniam, thanks very much for joining us with your views there. Murtaza Ali Khan, film critic, continues to be with us. Mr. Khan, what is your opinion as somebody who I'm assuming consumes content on OTT platforms a lot as a film critic? How do you look at this move or this proposal of the Karnataka government to impose a 2% tax on OTT subscription fees?
See, prima facie, the intentions do look, noble, but at the same time, I find it to be, absolutely ludicrous. Because there are so many state subjects, and if they really want to benefit the artists and technicians, they could have easily taken some money out of the already, the tax and other benefits that they are collecting from the tax-paying citizen. And a small percentage of that amount could have been used for this purpose. But to outrageously and to explicitly target the industry at a time when already, the entertainment industry has been suffering. Let's not forget that the entertainment taxes were actually imposed by the British. And they were imposed because the British didn't want, the Indians to come up with content which was, targeting the British Empire. So we have come a long way from that time, and now we have reached a time wherein we need to completely have a laissez-faire sort of an environment where it's an absolutely free market, and by unnecessarily imposing, a tax of 2%, a cess of 2% on the entertainment industry, I think this is actually hampering the industry. Yes, you are saying that you want to benefit the artists, you want to benefit the technicians, the intentions are there, but there are n number of ways of benefiting the industry, benefiting the technicians. This way, the means is actually not right, and I personally feel that this can have a detrimental effect on the already dampened industry. We have seen in the recent times that there has been a great decline in terms of the box office numbers, And the OTT also is not doing exceptionally well. A lot of the OTT platforms are also going through a tough time in keeping the subscribers. So at a time when we need to push the industry, at a time we need to help the industry grow its numbers, this is actually a very detrimental step, the way I look at it.
So there can be more solutions, is what you're saying. Taxing the common man is not the only solution, is what you're saying. But how does it affect the business? You know, as far as
right now.
Yes, but as far as you know, the film industry is concerned, we are seeing that more and more filmmakers, production houses are now moving from the silver screen to OTT platforms, and they're heavily relying on OTT platforms, even looking at it as a lucrative medium. So for them, 2% says, how do you see people from within the industry viewing this move?
See, as I have already told you, that it's a very noble intention. There are artists out there who, are not making as much money as some of the
I understand that. But if subscriptions will take a beating, if subscriptions will be affected, then that's not good news entirely for even people within the industry.
Ultimately, you have to look at the bigger picture. See, nowadays we are living in an age of competition, and people anyway are, struggling a lot, in order to grab the subscribers. Every platform is suffering. We have seen, that it's difficult to maintain the numbers. It's difficult to maintain the targets, and it's a global phenomena. It's not an Indian phenomena. It's a global phenomena. So at a time when you are already facing, a very difficult time, in terms of increasing the subscription base. Forget about increasing. You are finding it hard to retain your subscriber base. If at that point in time you want to build the end user, you want to put unnecessary additional burden on the end user, ultimately what it would do, somebody like me, somebody who belongs from a lower middle class background, would probably now think, okay, let's not have 5 different subscriptions. Let's just have 1, or let's just have 2. So maybe I'll have 1 for sports, because if I'm a sports lover, then I will need my daily dose of sports, and then maybe I'll have 1 more. But what will happen now is that I will think that let's do away with more subscriptions that I have and only stick to just 2, 3. So this is going to become a big challenge in the days to come, as we'll see more and more users, trying to look into their pockets. Are they deep enough? Are they deep enough to, match the increasing rates, the increasing tariffs? And if no, then they will have to take a call and they will move away. Let's go back to the days of the set-top box. Remember, there used to be outrageous cable charges. And that's when the Supreme Court came up with the guideline that, okay, let's put an amount of 500 rupees. You can't go beyond that. I think we have reached a similar times now in the OTT digital arena, when you need to put a higher bracket. How much burden you want to put on the end user? They will only be able to pay so much, on a monthly basis. So I just want to remind you about the set-top box days, when the set-top box was brought in, because the cable channels and all these people were imposing unnecessary charges on the end user. And the Supreme Court had to come in and they had to say that, okay, now pay-per-view is going to come. You want 5 channels, just pay for 5 channels. I think OTT is also now going a similar direction. There are hundreds of options available, and the end user has to make its choice. And since the price is ultimately going to be borne by him, the excessive costs are going to be borne by them.
Okay, so as you say, the intention seems to be right, but there are other solutions as well. Dr. Surya Narayan is joining us from Chennai. A caller is with us. Dr. Surya Narayan, go ahead.
Actually, the Karnataka action is, in fact, those people who are seeing the cinemas are poor and middle class. So the Congress always think against middle class, and they always support rich people. See, the OTT is easy and cost effective and economical to see by middle class people. But this decision of the Karnataka government is against public. What they told it before the election, they told something and they follow something against. They against national government, they against Indian government. That's why that the Congress government created a separate flag for Karnataka. So this move will definitely affect the public, general public, and this is not a way to get, because lot of amount can be got through illegal liquors and through mines and all they can do. So crores and crores of sands from Kaveri River is taken illegally. The Karnataka government, instead of charging 2% cess, can charge the can take over the entire sand procurement and sand sale. It will definitely give against the middle class, against the commercial agents. So this government is anti-public, anti-India, and this will definitely affect the socio-economic development of the country, because the people want some joy
so
through
just
OTT.
for the sake of arguing from the other side, don't you think that it's going too far to say that the government is anti-public or anti-India, as you say? It's just a 2% tax, many would say. I'm just arguing from the other side for the sake of it. But how would you respond to those people who would say that this is just a marginal tax? And, you know, generally, if you look at OTT subscribers as well, they are mostly, you know, from, say, the salaried class or the middle class, people who can afford subscriptions.
Exactly. You're absolutely correct. See, I do agree it is a marginal increase, but Karnataka government why they give sand mafias to rule the Kaveri water and other river sand? See, they can take over the entire sand procurement and sell to builders and public. So there they can make more than 1,000 crores money and they can use it. But they are not doing. They simply do what whoever pay this. You are exactly correct. The salaried people who don't have time to go to cinema and they see it from the mobile, it is not necessary. See, the government should be Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Saath. This is not a government for Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas.
Okay.
This government is only charging the salaried people and make a crocodile tear that they are for middle class.
Right. Dr. Suryanarayan, thanks very much for joining us on the show this evening. You have touched upon various topics which perhaps many would say are not really related to the issue at hand, which is the entertainment cess debate. But our guest, Murtaza Ali Khan, continues to be with us. Mr. Khan, I just want to also look at it from the point of view of OTT regulation, because the OTT platforms have been hailed as the sort of free and independent, and there's some sort of great freedom that comes with these OTT platforms. Do you see that this increased interest in regulating, taxing OTT platforms is detrimental to the very motive with which these OTT platforms have come about, in a sense to sort of act as alternatives to mainstream cinema?
See, they were supposed to democratize the entertainment space, and they have done that by leaps and bounds. But by imposing such arbitrary charges, you are really demoralizing them. You are really, pushing them to a point wherein they will not be, able to enjoy the kind of freedom, the kind of democracy that it is supposed to be, known for. Let me give you an example. I agree, okay, let's agree that the middle class is willing to pay or the low middle class is willing to pay. Why don't you make it optional? If the government really wants to portray it as this welfare scheme wherein the artist will benefit, let's give the choice to the end user. Let's make it optional and let the viewers, let the end user decide that, okay, there is a 2% cess which you want to donate,
So that's a very interesting point you're making, that it could be made optional, and perhaps these are certain aspects that the government could look at. That's an interesting point there, Mr. Khan.
Why force
I'll have to interrupt you there because Venkat Raman, another caller, is joining us from Bengaluru. Yes, Mr. Venkat Raman, go ahead.
Well, this is what you get for electing a Congress government, which is just doling out taxpayers' money left, right and center, and there is no end to this. The next target, according to the state government, which will not come out in the news, is the water connections for new houses. The pro rata charge which is there is proposed to be hiked. So you are hiking everything. You just want money from the taxpayer and you want to drain their pockets to fill your pockets. This is what the Congress government is doing.
So you feel that ultimately it's a middle class that's being affected by the price hikes and, of course, this kind of taxation?
I mean, you're taking from one hand and giving less than half of it to the other hand. In fact, you're giving just a small percentage to the other hand.
Okay, so interesting point there. I think that is really the larger message that is coming out of this debate, that as Mr. Murtaza Ali Khan also pointed out, that there are various other ways of creating funds like these, and as you said, it could be made optional as well. So that is something that certainly the Karnataka government can look at, Mr. Murtaza.
And my concern is that, okay, now that you have put this arbitrary amount of 2%, it could have been 1%, it could have been 0.5%, that could have actually, or maybe you could have given the choice to the people that, between 0.5% and 2%, it's your choice. You decide. It's going to go to the artist. Now, okay, you have it in place. Now I want to ask that who's going to ensure that all of this money that gets collected, it goes to the right channels? Who's going to ensure that the people who really deserve it, they get the benefit out of it? So there has to be a body, and I don't really believe in these arbitrary government bodies. There has to be somebody from the industry, people who actually can oversee everything so that there is complete transparency.
So perhaps all stakeholders must be consulted as well. I'm sorry to cut you off there because we have another caller joining us on the show. Naresh Raina is joining us from Gurugram. Yes, Mr. Raina, go ahead. What do you think of this this move by the Karnataka government?
I think the way the government has, we can say, declared that they have to, we can say, provide so many facilities to the people. So I think this 2% cess is not too much, because this is actually applicable to the people who are entertaining, who have the money to spend on the entertainment. So I think 2% on this level of, we can say, this kind of people, I don't think that it is very difficult and it can be managed, since the government have to actually facilitate other facilities which they have promised for the people. So I think that there should not any problem of this 2% cess on OTT.
So you are saying that those who want to consume content on OTT, they will be willing to pay this amount, given the fact that, this is, as you said, that these are mostly people who have the money to spend on, recreational activities.
Exactly. So 2%, I don't think, for example, 1,000 if anybody is paying for the month, so if he has to pay 2% on that, so I don't think that it will be very difficult for them to pay.
All right, Mr. Raina, thanks very much for joining us with your opinions there. So, Murtaza Sahab, it's a debate that is, of course, still taking shape in a sense, because one doesn't really know whether the government will actually go ahead and impose that 2% cess. But as many of them are pointing out, those who want to consume content on OTT will come to OTT platforms, and perhaps the 2% cess will not deter them from coming to OTT platforms.
First and foremost, they should, as we were discussing earlier also, they need to consult all the stakeholders involved. People from the industry should also be party to this, and then, this decision should be taken that, okay, if we really want to increase it by 2% or 1% or 0.5% or whatever, that they haven't done so far. They cannot just impose it in an arbitrary manner. And once it's decided that, okay, we want this 2% cess to be there, then who's going to ensure that this money that gets collected actually will go to the right channel? So for that, we need somebody from the industry to supervise this transition. We don't want this money to end up, in some arbitrary manner. It has to go to the right person at the right time. Otherwise, there is no point. I work with a lot of, cultural embassies, and I talk to a lot of people, working in the West. All the time, the money is ensured that it goes to the right people. Even during the pandemic, a lot of money in the cultural spaces were collected, and taxpayers happily paid that money as long as they were aware that the money is going to the right persons. They are going to the right people. But in India, often we have seen that there is little accountability when it comes to such arbitrary decision making, particularly at the state level we have seen. So for that, I think we need a greater accountability. There has to be different stakeholders consulted, and once a decision is taken, somebody has to supervise it so that there is absolute transparency. Then happily, I'm sure, people who are willing to pay, they'll be happily able to pay as long as they know that the right person, the deserving person, is getting the benefit out of it.
All right. So interesting point there, that that is also something that perhaps the government will have to monitor. But Shankar is joining us from Ghaziabad. Yes, Shankar, go ahead. What do you think of this proposal?
Namaskar ji.
Namaskar.
See, I see that central government should declare financial emergency if possible. Okay. Number two, Election Commission or Finance Commission controls the drama of soup and political soup. Number three, yesterday reservation problem, today tax problem, stress problem. tomorrow they will tax on central institutions, the opposition government. What is news? Boston Consulting Group. Other type of petroleum cess. These are the points I want to say. Thank you very much.
All right, Shankar, thanks very much for joining us on the show this evening, and thanks very much, Murtaza Ali Khan, as well, for all that perspective that you brought to the story. So this is, of course, has become a raging debate. It's been discussed and debated in the past as well. The central government has also mulled over, introducing taxation as far as OTT platforms are concerned. Remains to be seen how this is taken forward, but certainly a contentious move there by the Karnataka government. And with that, we'll take a short break now, but news continues on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
वो performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize.
Welcome back. The Bombay High Court's verdict on private schools has now sparked a controversy in a sense as well. There's no exemption from EWS quota for private schools. The distance from government schools does not matter. In fact, the verdict also goes on to say that private schools within 1 kilometer of the government school are not exempt from EWS admission, and that 25% of classes in private unaided schools has to be from the EWS or the economically weaker section of society as well. If required, private schools can increase the seats. So certainly a progressive order there. So the RTE Act casts a duty on every unaided school is what the High Court has said. And that's all the time that we have on this show. Thanks so much for watching.
In association.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
बहुत ही performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
As India gears up for the upcoming budget, a lot of expectations doing the rounds, and we have the tech sector that is looking at a transformative phase and are also aspiring for new benchmarks that can drive innovation and growth.